The Gaelic Athletic Association is Ireland's largest sporting organisation. Since its establishment in County Tipperary in 1884, it has been at the centre of some of the most memorable and captivating events in Irish history. Whilst the GAA is celebrated as one of the great amateur sporting organisations in the world, it is part of the Irish consciousness and plays an influential role that extends far beyond the basic aim of promoting Gaelic games. By preserving and nurturing Indigenous sports and pastimes, the GAA has captured the importance of heritage and has enriched the lives of towns, parishes, clubs and counties all over the country. Fast forward over 130 years, the GAA has over 2,200 clubs in all 32 counties of Ireland.
My name is Tom O'Donoghue. I'm a hurl maker from Kilkenny City, Ireland. Hurling is our national sport here in Ireland, and it's played with a stick called a caman or a hurl, and it is the oldest, fastest and most skillful field game in the world, and it consists of two halves, a 35-minute half on each half with 15 players. For a goal you get 3 points, and for a point over the bar and between the sticks you get 1 point. An average score in a hurling match now is 2 goals and 22 points. I would say to maybe 1 goal and 30 points or 1 goal 25 points. The field is just bare a little over 2 lengths of a soccer pitch and a length and a half of a rugby pitch, and is half as wide again as a football pitch or a soccer pitch. So it is, as I said, it is our national sport here in Ireland. So it is, and it's the oldest, fastest and most skillful game in the world. Yeah. Hurling is parish orientated. It's where there's a sign on the wall there, you don't choose your county, it's chosen for you for where you're born. You don't choose your club either, it's chosen for you, it's where you're born. What makes our game so passionate and so, want for another word, realistic is that we have no transfer system in the GAA. So if you're from Kilkenny, you play with Kilkenny. If you're from Dixborough, like I am here in our club here, you play with Dixborough. Just up the road, we'll say, across the road, you have the village, James Stevens. You play with James Stevens. Up the road here, less than a half a mile, you play with Greg Ballycallan. That's the one thing that makes our game so great. That is non-professional, even though it's at a very, very high professional training. We're professional in every way, except for players don't get paid. But the difference is, if I'm a school teacher, you're a school teacher, and you go for a job here in Kilkenny, and a hurler or a footballer goes, he's nearly guaranteed to get the job before you. Yeah. Because he can coach the kids in the school and everything. So you know that you have your little perks that way and this way, but they don't get paid for playing, and that's what makes our game amazing. It will always stay amateur. It's down to tradition is everything, as you know. Yeah. So well, here in Ireland anyway, tradition is everything. And but no, sport is Gaelic games is a long way. I don't think we could sustain it anyway. Like it would kill our game if it went professional. So it would. Yeah. This is an undiseased ash tree from what a hurling stick is made from. We knock the tree and we look for the root, and you can see this is the root. This is what we call the toe of the tree. This is the toe here, and this is where the hurl comes from. Here is an example of a very good ash tree for hurl making. And this is what we're looking for here, is the turn on the root. This is the turn, the curl of the hurl we call it, and this is what we're looking for to make a good hurl. So now we'll take you back into the workshop and we'll show you every stage of hurl making. As I said, a hurl is made from ash, and it's made from ash for the reason of this. This is what we call the clash of the ash. And as you see, no shutter comes up along my hand. If that was 2 oak planks, you would shutter. If it was 2 iron bars, you would shutter. And what it does, it absorbs the shock. Plus ash doesn't fly when it breaks, and it very rarely splinters. So now I'm going to make a nice hurl for you. We're going to make a 32-inch hurl. A 32-inch hurl is for a young fella of around 14, 15, and lots of adults are using short hurls now. So they are. So the first thing we do is we follow the grain of the hurl. We look for the best grain and then we mark it out. This is a tradition has been used from the very start of hurling. And as you know, hurling is the oldest, fastest and most skillful field game in the whole world. So that's the first stage of the hurl. As you can see, I followed a nice grain down into it and the turn of it. So the next stage of the hurl is the bandsawn of it. So now that's your first shape of your hurl. And you will see when I start sliding the hurl, it coming into shape, and you'll see the lovely grain coming back into the hurl then from there. The sliding of the hurl to shape it, and as now you can see the lovely grain and the lovely turn coming into the hurl here, what we were talking about. And we're so lucky to have grain in the back of it and grain everywhere in it. It's a lovely balanced hurl, this. So now here you have the rough hurl. It's hard to imagine back in the day that everything I done in the bandsaw was done with an axe. The hurl was made with an axe. It was different. The hurl has evolved over the times. You take this hurl here, which is from the early 1920s. So it is how much the shape of the hurl has changed over the last few decades. That's the difference, and the biggest difference is the length of the hurl and the width of the boss. So now we'll take it to the finishing bench and we will finish the hurl. Now, so this is the finishing bench, and these are the modern tools we use now, towards back when they were making this type hurl. Everything was done with glass because glass was plentiful. They didn't have the tools to do it, so we're lucky enough to do it. So now we will finish the hurl, and the first thing we'll do is we'll take the round back spoke shave and we'll start on the handle. I always start on the handle of the hurl so that I can get a pretty good feel for it, and for while I'm finishing it, when I pick it up, I'll be able to get a balance on it. So now that the handle is nice and round here, we will start to straighten the hurl and round it. So we start to straighten it with a smoothing plane. So now that I have all the heavy work done, I will start finishing it completely with the spoke shaves. The spoke shaves, they do all the nitty gritty, all the nice balancing of the hurl. So the big flat spoke shave finishes off the rounding and the flattening of the hurl. And you can really see the grain coming into the hurl now at this stage. when you have it down to near finished. So now the next thing is to get the balance into it, and this is where the small spoke shave comes in to balance the hurl. This is where all the final touches are made to the hurl. And we do the handle first so that we can balance the rest of it. So now here we have the finished product, and the final part of the hurl making is the stamp, is the maker's name, most important of all. So now hopefully the hurl is ready for to play in Croke Park on All-Ireland final day.
In All-Ireland hurling final 1974. Limerick, the reigning All-Ireland champions against Kilkenny. They're victims in 73, but Kilkenny were the All-Ireland champions in their own rights for 1972. Téimi Sheeranish, I gudachta Vihili Hair Marshachtere.
The GAA is at the core of social and cultural life within Irish communities and continues its prominence in areas abroad and promotes Irish heritage and identity across the globe. The Irish diaspora refers to ethnic Irish people and their descendants who live outside of their native country. Since the 1800s, approximately 10 million Irish people have emigrated abroad. For many Irish emigrants, a GAA club is often the first port of call when arriving to a new country. They not only offer the opportunity to play Gaelic sports, but act as a hub for networking and a means to find work and accommodation, all to make the move seem easier. The GAA now has 400 established clubs across the world, in places such as the United States of America, Australia, Britain, Canada, China and mainland Europe. The UK makes up over 50% of Irish diaspora and has 7 counties that represent GAA Britain. County London play their home games at the newly redeveloped McGarry Park in Ruislip, situated in West London. The overseas growth of the GAA has enabled Irish emigrants to find a sense of familiarity and belonging through Gaelic sports, work and social events.
Even when the All-Ireland finals are on now, you make sure, no matter where you are, no matter what part of the world you're in, you're going to go and find a pub that you can watch it in. You know, I remember last year I was in Spain, and the pub that I use, I said to the guy, I said, "Can you get the hurling on?" And he kind of looked at me with two heads. He goes, "The what?" But we found it, we played it, and everybody in the pub, by the end of the game, was fascinated. And they just couldn't believe that nobody was injured. And nobody was rolling around the ground, and nobody was, capped it off. And yeah, so by the end of the day, I think I had 5 new hurling friends. And I have been back there since, and they've always asked, "When's the hurling on?" The big thing is they say, "How much do these guys get paid?" And I said, "They don't." I said, "They're amateur. It's an amateur sport. They don't get paid." I said, "They all have day jobs." And they just go, "No way." Yeah. I think. Well, people have more access to it through TV and everything now.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's a good thing or not, that Sky have bought the rights to it. I don't know. Only time will tell. Because I think people are not happy because they think that, I don't know, they think that Sky are eventually going to be the only people showing it. I don't know.
It's taking games away from RTE.
Yeah. It's taking games away from the common man that just looks forward to the Sunday game on a Sunday afternoon on TV. And now, if he hasn't got Sky, he can't watch it. But it's all down to money. But, well, God, I remember a time when, now I'm going back to when I came to London first, I remember this pub, and you couldn't watch the games live. So Monday night would be a big night in the pub, because they would have flown over a VHS cassette of the game.
No way.
And they would play it on the Monday in the pub. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot easier to get to the clubs, and there's a lot more clubs now. And I remember I was talking to Jolene, my wife, and she remembers when her brother came here one summer to work, and the company he was working for, it was nearly part. We'll give you a job if you play football for our club.